Hello and welcome to today's tutorial. Today we're going to take a look at CSS Grid. We're going to see what it is, how it works, and just some basic grid properties to get us started up and running with Grid. Now, if you haven't checked out Flexbox, I've got a link for that in the description. It might be helpful for this video. Now, to get started with Grid, there's a couple of things we need to know. What it does is it aligns elements based on the X and the Y axis. So Flexbox just deals with one axis or the other. Grid, we can use both axes at the same time. So there's lots of cool layouts we can use based on Grid. Just a worthwhile note, there are sometimes browser compatibility issues with Grid, so before you do it for a particular browser, it's best to check its compatibility. But Chrome essentially has full support for Grid. So let's get started. Why would we want to use Grid? Well, we might want to use it to lay out grid images. So if we have a load of content pulled in a website, we could have one item, then another, and then just repeat them in a grid. So it would be obvious to use Grid in that situation. It'd be the easiest one. Or we could lay out our content in a more grid-like or mosaic structure. That's easy to do with Grid. So to get started, all we do is we get our grid container and we do display grid. You notice they all jump up and close the gap. It's just a default grid thing. Don't worry about this content here, it just gives them their base height and width and gives them all a different colour. But anyway, back to Grid. So there's various things we can do in Grid, but to style along the columns, so going across horizontally, we can set 100 pixels like that, and if we come into our inspect, up. That's why. There we go. We have two columns, each 100 pixels, which is the same as our items. So if we make them 200 pixels, seems like there's a gap, but really they're just sitting in their containers like so. We can also do grid template rows. We could do 100 pixels, 200 pixels, 100 pixels, something like that. And that's sort of what we get. So we get 100 pixels, 200 pixels, and then the rest are just 100 pixels each. Again, and we also have grid gap, which we put a simple property to, and that'll align them like so. So if we just make these 100 pixels again, so we can see you've got 20 pixels and 20 pixels. You can also come in and do 10 pixels, and it will make the row 20 pixels, the row gap, and then the vertical gap is 10 pixels, so row and then column. Also do it the other way around, so 50. So now you got a bigger gap between them vertically, and then just the 20 pixel line, horizontal line going across, like so. And that's the basics of how we can get started with Grid. We can also, if we select our Grid item, we can use properties like justify content center, align items center, so if we come in here, yeah, just get rid of the padding on the items. And then we can align like so. So if we come to here, we can see they're aligned centrally within their grid areas. Or we could do place items center, which is a quick and easy way of doing it as well. And if we put display grid property on there, we can just put place item center as well, and it puts our div straight in the middle. So nice and quick, instead of putting out justify content and align items just to get the same thing. We can also, if I get rid of this, we can also use grid column like so, and if we do something like that, come over to here, we can see that it will stretch from, it will break out columns from 1, 2 and then 3. Similarly with rows, put in grid row and then 1. It'll break them out like that. It's more common to use grid template areas, they're a bit easier to use, and there's other things we can do with them. So with a grid template area, column, we can use a repeat function, and then we can say repeat 3 columns. 1FR is just like a fraction of the screen, so it breaks the screen up into 3 equally spaced fractions and then just sets the content inside of there. We can also do it with the rows, so grid template rows, and we can do repeat 3 at 500 pixels. And then you got 3 500 pixel rows. Obviously we don't want that big, 200 will do. And now you go, they're nice and evenly spaced out. Could also do place items center, and then centers them all within those grid areas as well. So nice and quick to make grid patterns. You could also get rid of that. We can also put grid patterns within grid patterns. So if I put a grid inside of a grid, we can do there, and then you get like a grid item inside as well for each of them. And then if you do further nested elements, you can do more with it. The next other thing we can do is we get rid of these grid areas. Actually, what I'll do is so you can see stuff, I'm just going to comment it out. And if we do grid template areas, we use quote marks up this, and inside we can write grid 1, grid 1, and grid 1. Then we can do another one, and we can do grid 2, grid 2, and then grid 3, grid 4. We'll go from like this, 7. Grid 6. 3. We'll do them like that. And then come down. 2, 3. Put that one as 9. So yeah, with these grid template areas, I've just wrote some CSS out, so we can follow this. And now, so I've got grid 2 here, and grid 3 is assigned to grid 2, so that's in position 3. Grid 4 is here because it's got grid 2. So you can move things around like that as well. So that's quite convenient. And so if you had a header, you could stretch it out 2 times. I mean, I could put grid 1 and I'll take away grid 2. And now it will be displayed in the middle of the grids. but you can extend the widths and stretch it out, and it will take up that full grid cell because it's defined over both of them. So that's how grid areas work. You can just assign it twice, 3 times, and you combine it with your template areas for the sizing of the grid cells themselves. The areas just allow how you organise whatever grid items how you want more effectively. So that's our introduction to grid covered. I hope it gives you a bit of an explanation as to how grid's used and how it aligns items and how it can be useful for more complex web layouts. Well, I'd like to hear your thoughts and ideas and comments on what you thought of the video. Remember to like it if you liked it, share and subscribe. Thanks for your time and have a nice day. Goodbye.